54! Let's get it! Bang! Lack of awareness combined with a lack of ability to jump, not great! Bang!
Me bow, me bow, me bow, me bow, me bow, me bow, me bow!
Yeah!
Again! Do it for me. Me bow!
Bang!
Fucking signing her, Angel Reese. If you don't know who she is, she's the queen of like fish out of water going after a rebound that she shot herself and can get in the net ever. She reminds me of a 3-year-old shooting on those little kids' nets and throwing the ball and just completely.
We have commentators laughing at this.
Washington has done that incredibly well so far. Reese missed the first one, still with it blocked.
They realized that they were laughing and then quickly stopped themselves. Like, oh, I can't laugh. I'm live right now. I can't laugh. I'm live right now. Let me let me get
expert in math, but it looks like Angel Reese wins 1 out of every 3 games. If I remember correctly, Angel Reese has beaten a team with a winning record once this season. So you tell me how Angel Reese
at this point, and it has nothing to do with like how she's handled herself or anything. It's just simply Caitlin Clark is so much better than Angel Reese at basketball that it doesn't feel fair.
Yeah, I think Angel Reese is struggling with the fact that Caitlin Clark is better at her best thing than she is.
Well, she's better at everything.
And
she had a triple-double. She's tied for the 3rd most triple-doubles in WNBA history, and she's played 50 games.
Yeah.
Was an epic embarrassment, bro. Remember, this is a pro basketball player. Won a national championship. Their calling card they'd like to hang over is she beat Caitlin Clark. Remember that. Watch this.
Also with the miss, Angel Reese picks it up. Well, she's good at it. Getting another offensive rebound. She says, give me that. How about another? Persistence trying to pay off. Jones gets a piece. Angel Reese won't give up. Jones with another block.
Performances in June, she earned her All-Star selection. But these aren't just a couple of bad plays. These aren't bloopers. These aren't rare moments. This is the norm. The same thing happened last week when the Chicago Bravado got their ass kicked by the Minnesota Linkers. I don't have to convince you that Angel Reese has no impact on winning. Just look at her record. Look at her.
Go through All-Star break, we come back, 9 turnovers. We sit out with a back injury, we come back, can't make a fundamentally sound layup. Maybe they rushed you back from injury. Tyler Marsh, did you rush her back from injury, Tyler Marsh? I'm looking.
Angel Reese, she's all in Indiana during All-Star, and her Reebok campaign, Come to Your Track, just put belt to ass on Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. Sonia Citron was out there cooking with hot grease. Stir the pot, stir the pot. Keep cooking, Sonia. That was a show. She put on a flat-out show versus Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. Boy, did they ruin Angel Reese's. Had a good game, 22 points, 13 rebounds, but she shot terribly. She got bailed out so many times, throwing up brick layups, getting phantom foul calls from the refs. She did make 10 of 11 free throws, so that is good. 6 of 16 from the floor is not good at all. 0 of 1 from 3.
When in the world just happened to Angel Reese's big break? Not long ago, this was supposed to be the perfect partnership. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant forces in basketball history, putting a stamp of approval on a young WNBA star and making her the face of Reebok's grand return to the basketball world. The stage was set, the marketing dollars were lined up, and the hype machine was in full swing. But fast forward to today, and that same partnership is unraveling in real time, with whispers turning into shouts and shouts turning into full-blown public embarrassment. The kind of embarrassment you don't just shake off after a bad shooting night. This is the kind that follows a player and a brand for years. And it's all happening while the cameras are rolling, and the internet is watching every single move. The All-Star break should have been a celebration, a showcase of Angel Reese's rise to stardom. Instead, it became another reminder that something was seriously off. During a game, commentators, the very people paid to make every moment sound electric, were caught laughing on air at her play. You could hear it in their voices. That quick, instinctive chuckle that slips out when you've just seen something you can't quite believe. One of them even had to stop mid-laugh and force themselves into a more serious tone, as if realizing in real time that this was live television and the moment might stick around far longer than they wanted. That alone should tell you everything about the state of this situation. The marketing pitch for Reebok was simple. Angel Reese would be their spark, the fresh face to reintroduce the brand to a new generation of basketball fans. This was no random choice. Shaq himself had signed off on it. The idea was that Reese would carry the swagger, the energy, and the competitive fire that could inspire a whole new wave of young athletes to lace up Reebok sneakers. But on the court, things were going in the opposite direction. Her performances weren't building hype. They were creating an entirely different kind of buzz, the kind that brands dread. The type that comes with slow-motion clips set to circus music. To make matters worse, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers are brutal. In just her second year in the league, Angel Reese has somehow managed to turn one of basketball's simplest shots into her biggest weakness. Layups. Yes, layups. The shot every player learns in their first week of organized basketball. While most pros hit them at an efficiency rate of 70 to 80%, Reese is managing just over 31%. 31. That's not just below average. That's alarm bell territory for someone playing at the highest level. And it's not like she's taking a handful of these shots, either. She's attempting the third most layups in the entire WNBA. That means possession after possession ends in a miss from point-blank range, and every one of those misses chips away at the brand Reebok is desperately trying to build around her. This is the part where the official narrative from media outlets usually tries to soften the blow. They'll talk about her potential, her rebounding ability, her energy. They'll spin the story toward her leadership in the locker room or her confidence in post-game interviews. But for anyone watching closely, the gap between the hype and the reality is massive. The public-facing storyline is all about growth and promise, but the behind-the-scenes chatter among players, coaches, and even some executives paints a much less flattering picture. It's not about whether she can grow into a superstar. It's about whether the player Reebok signed was ever the player they thought they were getting in the first place. That's the dangerous part for both her and the brand. This isn't a slump you can chalk up to bad luck or an off month. The missed layups have become a nightly occurrence, and with every game, the internet is waiting, cameras zooming in, fans clipping and posting the worst moments seconds after they happen. In today's sports landscape, perception is everything, and right now, the perception is that Angel Reese is the face of a marketing gamble gone wrong. And Shaq's Reebok is the one footing the bill for every single brick. If the on-court struggles weren't enough to raise eyebrows, the hard data backing them up has made the conversation impossible to ignore. You can't spin away stats that loud. The Chicago Sky, the team Reebok hoped would serve as the perfect stage for Angel Reese's rise, are sitting on one of the worst records in the league: 7 wins, 21 losses. They're not just losing, they're getting outplayed in ways that make even loyal fans check the score from home instead of buying tickets. And here's where the paradox gets even stranger. When Reese plays, the team loses. When she doesn't play, the team still loses. It's the kind of pattern that makes analysts question whether she's an asset or just a player who happens to be on the roster. Her absence earlier in the season due to a back injury was supposed to be the reset button, the break she needed to come back sharper, healthier, more impactful. Instead, it felt like the basketball gods hitting the pause button on a blooper reel that had been running nonstop. The Sky went winless without her, which, ironically, some saw as proof of her value. But when she returned, the same problems came roaring back. Missed layups, questionable shot selection, and turnovers in moments where the team couldn't afford a single mistake. Coaches have tried to frame her role as essential, spinning the narrative in post-game pressers to protect both her and the team's image. Tyler Marsh, in particular, has been doing PR gymnastics, emphasizing her rebounding, her hustle, her intangibles. But in an era where every play is dissected frame by frame online, the excuses don't hold up for long. Fans see what's happening. They see possessions where she gets 4 chances at the rim and still comes away empty-handed. They see smaller defenders swatting her shots as if she's running drills against a wall. They see frustration on the faces of her teammates when another close-range attempt bounces off the glass. This isn't happening in a vacuum either. The WNBA has had its share of controversy over officiating, questionable all-star selections, and marketing decisions that prioritize social media buzz over consistent performance. Angel Reese's case has become a perfect storm of all three. Her selection as an all-star wasn't exactly met with universal applause, and while she did have stretches of solid play earlier in the season, the overall trend has been hard to ignore. And in a league where optics are everything, her presence on the all-star stage was seen by some as more of a branding move than a basketball one. The league's handling of star power has been under scrutiny for a while. Fans have seen questionable calls that seem to favor certain players, marketing pushes that focus on a personality rather than consistent production, and rivalries hyped up far beyond what the actual competition delivers. Reese's situation fits right into that bigger conversation. On one hand, you have the official narrative, rising star, outspoken competitor, social media favorite. On the other, you have the actual on-court product, which is becoming harder and harder for anyone, fans, coaches, or Reebok executives, to defend without sounding like they're ignoring reality. And that reality is stark. Reebok didn't just sign her. They built their entire basketball relaunch around her. Shaq's stamp of approval was supposed to be the exclamation point on a comeback story for the brand. Now, with every missed layup and viral clip, that exclamation point is starting to look more like a question mark. The chatter in industry circles isn't just about Reese's future anymore. It's about whether Reebok misread the market entirely. Did they fall for the social media highlight version of a player without digging deep enough into the game film? Did they confuse name recognition with game-changing talent? If this was just about one player having a tough stretch, it might be salvageable. But the combination of her performance, her team's record, and the WNBA's ongoing issues with marketing credibility has turned this into a full-blown storyline, one that's as much about the league's image as it is about her stats. And every day that passes without a turnaround, the gap between the hype and the reality only gets wider. If there's one thing that's kept Angel Reese's name in circulation despite her struggles, it's the rivalry narrative, and in the WNBA right now, no rivalry generates more clicks, comments, and side-by-side comparisons than Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. On paper, it's the perfect story. Two college stars with history, both stepping into the pros, both carrying big personalities and fan bases. But in reality, the gap between them is wide, and getting wider by the week. The hype around their first pro-level matchups was supposed to deliver fireworks. Reebok was banking on it, ESPN was banking on it, and the WNBA itself was leaning into it hard. Yet the actual on-court results have been one-sided. Caitlin Clark is rewriting rookie record books, stacking triple-doubles, and drawing sellout crowds wherever she goes. Angel Reese, meanwhile, is struggling to convert shots 3 feet from the rim and spending far too much time trending for the wrong reasons. What was once framed as a battle of equals now feels more like a case study in how quickly a sports narrative can collapse when the performances don't match the billing. When Clark went down with an injury and missed a game against Reese's Chicago Sky, ticket prices for that matchup plummeted. What had been hyped as a showdown turned into a discounted night out, proof that for many fans, the main draw wasn't the rivalry itself, it was Clark. That's a brutal reality for any player trying to prove their marketability, especially one tied to a major endorsement deal. If the seats are only full when your rival is in the building, that says everything about who's carrying the storyline. And then there's social media, where the divide becomes even sharper. Clark's highlights, deep threes, flashy passes, record-breaking box scores, dominate TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter timelines. Reese's most viral moments? 4 missed putbacks in a single possession. Layups swatted by players a foot shorter. Slow-motion replays of botched finishes set to clown music. Entire YouTube channels now exist just to compile her lowlights into episodic series, each one drawing hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of views. In an age where the line between fame and infamy is razor-thin, Reese has slipped onto the wrong side, and the internet isn't letting go. For Reebok, this is a nightmare scenario. Their marketing department initially leaned into her personality, confident, outspoken, unapologetic. That can work when you're winning, but it quickly turns into fuel for critics when the game results don't back it up. Instead of clips of her dominating in Reebok gear, fans are seeing her Reebok sneakers in freeze frames of missed opportunities. You can sell attitude in the fashion world. In sports, you have to sell results. And the results simply aren't there. It's not as if Reese is oblivious to the noise. She's clapped back online, she's doubled down in interviews, and she's embraced the villain role at times. That might play well in short bursts, but sustained success in that role requires actual on-court moments to justify the swagger. Without them, the villain arc turns into a parody, and the parody turns into a cautionary tale. The story stops being love her or hate her, you can't ignore her, and becomes love her or hate her, you can ignore her, unless you need a laugh on TikTok. The irony is that the WNBA wanted this rivalry to be a gateway for new fans, a way to bring the energy of college basketball into the pro game. Instead, it's become an example of how forced narratives can backfire. Reese's presence in the conversation now serves more as a measuring stick for Clark's dominance than as a legitimate threat. And for Reebok, every time Clark shines and Reese stumbles, their investment looks less like a bold marketing move and more like a brand gamble gone completely sideways. Behind the scenes, the panic has already started. Reebok's top brass have gone from confident press quotes to closed-door strategy meetings, trying to figure out how to salvage a campaign that was supposed to relaunch their basketball division. The original plan was bold: position Angel Reese as the next big cultural figure in women's basketball, give her a signature shoe in 2026, and ride a wave of Gen Z hype into sneaker relevance again. But there's one fatal flaw in that plan: hype without production doesn't sell performance shoes. Industry whispers say there's already talk of pivoting her shoe from a performance basketball sneaker to a lifestyle product, the kind you wear with jeans instead of jerseys. Translation: a quiet admission that the basketball tie-in isn't helping the sales pitch. Others suggest the release could be delayed, giving her time to find her game before the brand makes a full push. But that's a gamble too. This isn't a shooting slump or a small dip in efficiency. This is a pattern, and patterns have a way of sticking in the public mind, especially when they've been replayed millions of times online. The fallout isn't just limited to the sneaker world. Ticket sales for games marketed as Reese's big moments have dipped when the rival element isn't there. Sponsorship momentum has slowed. Potential partnerships that might have jumped on the wave when the Reebok deal was first announced are now taking a wait-and-see approach. Every viral lowlight video chips away at the image her team and brand have tried to craft. Every commentator's chuckle on air makes it harder to sell her as the next big star. And while all of this is happening, the WNBA itself is facing its own branding dilemma. The league's leadership has leaned heavily into high-profile personalities to drive storylines, sometimes at the expense of rewarding consistent, high-level performance. Angel Reese's case has become the cautionary tale. A player pushed into the spotlight before her game was ready to carry the weight of the narrative. When the spotlight hits too early, every flaw becomes magnified, every weakness becomes a headline. Now we're at a boiling point. Shaq's endorsement is on the line, Reebok's campaign is hanging by a thread, and the public's perception of Angel Reese is dangerously close to being locked in for good. The next few months won't just decide whether she's a marketing win or a loss. They could define her entire WNBA legacy. If she can turn it around, she'll have one of the greatest redemption arcs in recent sports memory. If she can't, she'll be remembered as the face of one of the most puzzling endorsement misfires in league history. And that's the bigger picture. This isn't just about a shoe or a stat line. It's about how quickly the sports world can crown a star and how just as quickly it can take that crown away. It's about how brands, leagues, and players all gamble on the same thing, that performance will meet hype, and what happens when that gamble doesn't pay off. Angel Reese still has the stage, but right now the audience isn't sure whether they're watching the opening act of a comeback or the final scene of a short-lived headliner. So now it's your turn to weigh in. Did Reebok make a smart bet on potential that just hasn't paid off yet, or was this doomed from the moment the ink dried on the contract? And more importantly, can Angel Reese rewrite the story before the clock runs out, or has the damage already been done?